Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, short term, what are you going to do? That's the point. I mean, we
Short
can,
term, I think short term, you know, when this thaws out a little bit, because right now it's probably like a rock.
no. They moved. Look, here,
You
let
gotta
me.
get in there and push it.
Yeah.
He moved it. I moved
You
it
see
last
this?
week.
You see this bank here? It was solid as a rock. They pushed it and cleared.
Well, then they've got to continue to do that and make sure that they organize.
Well, not from this side, from the other side.
Right.
Push it north.
Just by moving the truck, we get 2-3 spaces. And then dig some behind it, move it to the back, give us 12 spaces.
Yeah.
I think by June it'll work itself
No,
out.
that's the problem. That's exactly, everybody's walking around saying this monstrosity will be in until June. If it was next week, okay.
And we don't snow in the room?
No, we got permission for it 2 weeks ago.
Really?
For the big storm. We dumped, probably close to 500 yards.
Is that?
It's a one-time
One
permit
time?
though.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a one event permit, so you have to associate the actual snow to the event that you got the permit for.
We need to get creative and find some more spots. It's like, I mean,
The long term, the writing amendment of the settlement agreement, I mean, you can discuss it with Phil. But I would like to come out of here tonight with a promise that we will get some more spaces, that the truck will be removed, and some more, 12 spaces.
I'm the liaison to DPW, and I promise I'll be with Tommy tomorrow morning after I talk to Greg. and
I'll
we'll-
be speaking with
Yep.
them tomorrow morning as well.
You got it.
I had this very aggravating incident on Friday morning, after they removed after they cleared the 4 spots in front of the truck, and I was aware of it, and I went to the back and I saw everything. I see a truck of DPW with the snowplow inside the parking lot. So I come to him and I asked him, I don't know the man, by the way. I've never seen him before. I asked him, are you going to move some more snow? He said, no, this is our lot. I said, what? He said, this is a municipal lot. The snow stays. Good luck over the weekend. And he drove away. I will not,
You don't know?
I don't know him. I'm not going to describe him. I'm just saying it's a person, a driver for DPW. It was a combination of hatred and contempt. Good luck over the weekend. Friday morning, the forecast was 6 to 12 inches.
Right.
Yeah.
So he wished me good luck and he drove away, telling me this is my lot. I got so upset that I ran up here. Greg, lucky for him, wasn't here. I got Barbara Ray, told me calm down.
No, it's not good. Sorry, Mike, that happened. Sorry.
I know it's not
Shouldn't
good.
happen.
I mean, it was I'm telling you, it was hatred and contempt. And I won't describe him. I will not. That's between me and him. I'm done.
Mike, you did a lot of work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. So I have a promise
I'll be
that
there tomorrow morning.
we will get
Yep.
12 more spaces.
I had
We need
a
them.
day off.
Okay,
Thanks, Mike. Thank
all
you.
right, thank you. No, okay, I just,
Mike, why don't you leave your pictures and I'll give them to you when you come back this week sometime.
all
You
the
don't have,
pictures,
yeah, you don't have to take them now. I'll leave them in my office and when you have time this week,
including,
don't worry, I'm not gonna,
Yeah,
yeah, you don't have to carry it.
no, enjoy it. I'm tired of this.
No, I want to give them back to you, but you don't have to take them now.
Yeah, okay.
I'll give them back to you this week.
Oh, you want to come?
Yeah, you got a presentation? You're
Mike, do you want these maps back?
on.
meant them for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. No, I meant them for you. I have my code.
Hey, Mike, what's your cell phone number? Your cell phone? 201?
101
Yeah,
805 4277.
4277.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Okay.
Double cheeseburger, fries, and a drink.
$12, yeah.
Wow. What do I do, break a window? Should I go to the mirror?
Okay.
This time I'd like to open the meeting to the public. Mary?
Mary Hogan, 606 Leonard Avenue. A couple of things, and part of it dovetails into what Mike was talking about. We were at the meeting for the re-examination of the master plan, and Barry Arndt indicated that part of the problem that they're starting to have with parking down in his area is that the COA building is charging people to park. And that is totally wrong, as far as I'm concerned, especially in light of the fact that the town has given $500,000 to them for 5 units, held them with 5 units. We've given them a pilot program in terms of and to make people that are, and the entire building is affordable housing, and to make those people have to then pay for parking is beyond me that would be permitted to allow them to do that. And he said, so what was happening is the people that are in COA are parking up on the street. Now, I understand the road is closed, but I still see cars in there, so they must go up and down the road. But it dovetails into what Mike was saying, because you have Aventine, you have, like you were saying, Michael, that we make these places put in enough housing, enough parking, and then they charge for the second spot. And so when people, like, this is a huge problem up by Avalon, because when they find out that the streets are safe in Edgewater, you know, the cars aren't getting broken into, people aren't getting their, you know, Audis or whatever the heck he's got, the Jaguar parked down in shades, I think it's not getting ripped off. You know, that they just park on the street then. And then this kills the parking on the street, and again, up in the northern end, which I've asked for almost a year about addressing, the possibility of making it one-way south from North Street south, is we're now getting another development coming in, which is the old Kennedy house. And they're gonna take all the parking in front of the property too.
Higgins house.
No, this is
No, the Kennedy house.
Kennedy's.
Kennedy house.
Kenny's house.
Oh,
Mrs.
Kennedy,
Kennedy.
I'm sorry, I said Kennedy,
She's-
the old,
Sorry, she's coming in now, not her, but obviously, but her, whoever is buying it
so
is
then it's
coming in
gonna
with the
be
development.
from almost your house, north.
We'll have no
Well, it'll be
parking.
from Winnish, the
Yeah,
Winnish
Hoyt's
house.
house. But you're already missing spots to the left, south of,
Well,
Hoyt.
the new Hoynish
Yeah.
houses that they built, they took all of their spaces.
The old, I'm talking about the old, from the old Winnish house, the house they grew up
That only has a driveway. They still have parking in front
in.
of the
One
wall.
spot in front of that.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah.
That's,
One or two,
Yeah.
you know, you can squeeze two.
That's gonna go all the way up now to.
all the way
Yeah,
to
what's-
Wood Street.
yeah, so
Well, it'll go up to the next development that also already has all their,
So there won't be any curbside parking.
There's gonna be no curbside parking.
But that's why they have driveways, you gotta enforce, I'm sorry, this is your time.
Well, that would be nice, would be another thing, if we could
But it
make,
was mentioned that you just provide for the skirt to get into the driveway and not take the whole 50-foot.
I agree with Mary, I said that a while ago.
you don't need 100 feet for, you know, 2 driveways. There should be some way of making them, and some of the older ones, like up beyond the church, north
That
of
is
the
board
church,
adjustment, right?
they do have, when they took their parking lot, their spaces, there's a parking space there. That you reserved at least one
spot.
spot
They
on.
do it in Cliffside, I think, I looked into that.
So an 8-inch
They have
curb
the
cut
one,
instead of 50.
correct, but you can
I
still
mean, an
pull in.
8 foot, not
8 foot,
8 inch.
but in Cliffside, I think it's part of the ordinance, so they have to leave a parking spot in front of the development, of the house.
You don't have to have, I mean, you come in the curb cut, and then when you get onto the property, you manipulate to, you know, get into your driveways, but you don't have to have, don't have to have 100 feet to have 2 driveways. I mean, you know, we need to address that in terms of the development. And that becomes a problem. I do have a problem with giving areas in town parking stickers, so that only they can park in that area, or they can park wherever they want, but then other people can't. That gets to be, I've seen that in all other towns, Cliffside and all of that, and it becomes a big problem in terms of what block can you park on. See, if you're gonna say, we're not doing anything on Undercliff Avenue, and they continue to put in developments like this, I'm parking on Myrtle. I'm parking on wherever else I can find parking. No, well, Moss Street doesn't have parking, but all along Myrtle. If you're telling me I can only park in this area, then I have a problem. Where am I parking? That becomes an issue. That's obviously parking is an issue, and it becomes an issue all over. But I really wish you would address this, because it's just going to continue, you know.
Can I ask you a question, Mary? By addressing it, making it one way, are you saying then we should
Unless
put?
you have another solution.
No, I was just saying, are you saying to put the parking then, instead of being on the west side of Undercliff? Do you think we should put it on the,
I think you can have it on both.
at that point, have both side parking?
Yeah, but you have to mark it. You have to mark where people can
Yeah.
park. You have to strike, this is a parking space, this is not a parking space. So that people in their driveways can get out. You know, you don't want somebody to always park their car in front of this guy's driveway and then he can't get out, which just happens on
But that's
on Sterling all the time.
we looked at that option on another street, I forgot the name of the street that it was on.
That was Myrtle.
Myrtle, and the only issue that we had was, believe it or not, the elevation, when you open the door,
And also backing
it
in driveways.
would get caught on the curb because
Oh.
it was actually on a slant. But that was an
Well, we
issue.
don't have the new curbs,
There's
so.
also backing in driveways.
And backing
Since
out
we
of
didn't,
those.
haven't gotten our
Majority of
street
people didn't want it.
paved.
Right,
But we walked that.
but they were
street, yeah.
complaining about the parking, but they didn't want it. So,
It's definitely, after these houses are built,
it's something to be, we have to look into.
But I don't understand why, and I just always, I guess we always presume, when you come before and you have Aventine and the big buildings like that, built Hudson Park and stuff like that, that you just presume everybody's parking on site. And if they choose not to park on site, it's okay. And you can't make them park on site, but
You can make them park on site, though,
I
Mary.
don't think you can.
Well, you know, when I lived in Fairlawn, if you did not have your car parked on your driveway after a certain time at night, you got a ticket. And I've gotten tickets in front of my house countless times, and believe me, I learned my lesson.
No, I'm talking about, you can't say to the high-rise development, you can only park
Oh.
the high-rise cars there. If they wanna park on the street, you can, they park on the street. But certainly, if I'm saying, if I say to the town, we provide 2 parking spaces for every unit, and we go, oh, wow, that's great. And then but they don't tell you,
The second one you.
the second
you
one,
charge for,
these
yeah.
people are gonna have to pay for.
But I think our ordinance says that you can't charge for the first, but you can charge for the second, correct?
I'm not sure, I have
I'm
to
not
look
sure
it
how
up.
that either.
I think that's what it says.
Well, that's what you gotta change.
Yeah.
You gotta change that, because what happens is they will always, if they can, the associations and stuff that generates the money. So look at it. The only reason in Hudson Harbor, you don't have a problem with that is because it's so far away from the street that people are gonna pay to park there. They're not gonna-
But they're all paying too, I mean, that's what I don't get, for the first spot.
Yeah, I think the ordinance says you can't,
Well,
but you
I
could
think
charge for
one
the
spot
second. And I can
here.
see that happening because, unless it's I mean, if it's a two-bedroom, unit, then perhaps they should be allowed to have a second parking spot. But if it's a one-bedroom, then they shouldn't be entitled to more than one spot.
No, but you have husbands and wives goes
Yeah.
over cars.
I think we need to look at the whole parking thing in town and the enforcement of it. We're talking about meter maids, we're talking about a lot of things. Sticker enforcement, commuters, big deal.
But the units, Mary, depending on the number of bedrooms, require different parking spots.
Oh, yeah, but I-
So whatever that may
But
be.
usually when they come before the board, they're saying we have more than enough parking, because they have to also put in visitor parking.
Whatever the unit requires, at least that they should.
But the complex itself also has to provide visitor parking.
Yeah.
So there's
Same
more
token.
than,
Right.
the standard that the state says, they have to put in more parking spaces. But once you charge people, and then they find out they can park on the street and park on the street safely, why would I pay extra money? But the COA that's an insult. That is an absolute insult that they're charging those people for parking. I never had heard of it before. And, Barry said it, whether it's true or not, I don't know how he knows. But I would like for you to look into that. I had a question on the master plan, just in general. We have two attorneys, according to the emails that I've seen, there are two attorneys attending those meetings, both Phil Boja and the attorney for the planning, but I don't know why we're having two attorneys attend those meetings, usually one or the other attends. I'm talking about the, not private meetings, but you know what I mean, the like with Greg and, not a full board meeting or anything. I don't understand why we have both attorneys being there, because that seems to me a waste of the taxpayer money to have to do that. Then I also was told that IPARC is paying for the attorneys, that only the town is paying for capital work. And I can't figure out for the life of me why a development that's going to get an advantage if we're doing a review of the master plan would be paying for the attorneys, paying for anybody, any of our experts to be there. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I was told in terms of open requests that were made on the billing. And the only other question I had, and of course they've left, is that so you don't have the state help, because we're just in the middle of retirement with the state funding. So you don't have the state plan health-wise? You're not part of it, okay, because then you've got a much better plan than the state plan. And he was talking about $2,000, that's what you have to pay up front every year?
Right.
That's your, whatever you call it.
Deductible.
Deductible. And he said that if you were over 25 years, you didn't get an increase in how much you had to pay, and that's not true. That's not true in terms of the state, and the teachers is also in the state.
I think you said it was, if you're in over 25 years, you were grandfathered and you didn't have to,
Hey, it's not a big
pay
increase.
in, right.
There is,
No, but if you're, oh, really?
yeah.
Under Chris's plan, you mean?
Yeah, when you have to pay more for your health insurance.
Even if you're not, okay, I thought it was grandfathered in at 25 years. The only people below that,
You still had to pay.
really?
Every year that you were a teacher, you had to pay more to pay for the health benefit. You paid a larger portion of what you had paid.
Right, but I think what he was saying was that if you were retired
If
for
you're retired.
25 years, you were not subject to Series 70,
Whatever
Chapter
cut,
72.
whatever cut when you retired. But if you're 25 years and you're still teaching, and they say you now have to pay 10% more,
Yes,
you have to
No,
pay.
these are retired people.
If you've been retired and for 25 years, you were grandfathered into the old, law where you were not subject to after,
Maybe not
72.
increases, but we still pay. Even as retirees, you pay.
yes, but not if you've
Or you're-
been retired for more than 70, that's what he said, more than 25 years. if you were
You don't have to
retired.
contribute to the plan.
Right, you don't have to contribute.
You do,
Okay. Go straight in there.
because we contribute, and he's 30 years.
30 years retired?
No, 30 years into
Well, that's what he
the.
was saying, 25 years retired.
Retired.
Hired?
Yeah.
Who's
Retired.
alive after
Well, that's
25
the
years
thing. I
retired?
think that's probably the bolded for him.
Well, we got a lot of people retiring at 55, 60, 20 years in.
Okay, I'm sorry, miss, I thought he meant, if you're 25 years in and retired, you didn't have to
He
pay.
was retired for 25 years.
Oh, my God, okay, sorry, misunderstood. So, anyway, that was my big thing is on parking, and I thank you, Mike, for your contributions there, and Shady Side, we certainly don't want to kill Shady Side, but you do have a problem if I have a parking permit for the town, and this is another thing that we're seeing. If I live where I live, in the north end, and I come down to that lot and park,
Me too.
I pay less. I would pay less getting on the bus, because I'm in a different zone.
Oh, yeah.
It becomes an issue in terms of,
People-
people.
And there is a settlement agreement that controls it. It says no commuter, no.
But had, the thing is, had he.
So if you went down there, you'd use the meter,
You-
you'd use the
Yeah,
meter.
and-
But you couldn't because you can't work all day, it's only a 3-hour.
Well, no, if you only go there to go, if you're gonna go shopping.
Okay,
You're not gonna
no,
leave.
unless.
No, but right now, you have a thing where you can, if you have the ordinance, as far as I know, is from 10 or whatever it is to,
Well, the
8 to
people that are
10,
leaving,
that you can't park it unless you have an Edgewater sticker.
and then you can leave it there all day.
Yeah.
Well, that's ridiculous.
But that's what people are
I
doing.
know, and well, that's why he wants to change that.
Yeah, but I'm saying people within town,
But now, if you wanted to go there, or I wanted to go there and park, we would have to use the meter,
Yeah,
simply because that section has some ordinances there. Yeah,
but it gets, I'm telling you, it gets to be a problem when you're talking about, we're
I,
talking about a public lot. Are we
No.
not? A municipal lot?
it's a municipal lot for the benefit of Shady Side. I mean, you were there.
I understand that, but we never talked about only letting Shady Side people there to park there 24 hours a day and other people in
Oh,
town.
no, it does
can't.
say, it says, the ordinance says that parking in the area, this is the first ordinance 20 years ago.
Sorry.
It's limited to 4 hours, except people from Shady Side who are entitled to park longer. It doesn't go, what is longer? But this is the parking of Shady Side, this is what those people park. They don't have any place else to go.
Well, I don't have any place to go on my lot, my street either, and that gets to be a big problem.
Well, the point is that when we met with Phil Borgia,
Okay, I'll talk to you later,
Okay.
because they want to move on, I think.
No, I
But-
just went to the.
But that, it becomes a huge problem in terms of, nobody has parking anymore. Everybody's struggling unless you have off-street parking. And even then, people don't have enough. And that gets to be a problem, because as we all know, they build the garages, we do tandem parking, you have one inside the garage, one outside the garage, and nobody uses their garage for parking. Everybody's got all their crap stored in their garage. Where do you put all your stuff? There's no storage in these buildings. It becomes a problem. And then they have to park on the street because they don't have a choice. So anyway, thank you for listening. One other thing, we have 2 huge holes
On the hill.
on Undercliff going up the hill. By the-
Well,
Fortunately, they're by the wall, so we don't, if you're going one through at a time, you don't hit them, but they're huge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Anyone else wish to be heard? Seeing none, I'll close the open portion of the meeting. Closed session, we don't need to go into closed, correct?
I distributed the 2 bargaining unit agreements, so we can reserve this time for another meeting,
Yeah.
give you the opportunity to review those, unless you do have something,
Nope. I think we need to just, Jimmy's, the mayor's talking about picking a few people to really split it up and figure out what we're doing, right?
I think we need to concentrate on the insurance part and also on the overtime part for both.
And I agree with you, Mayor, we should have 2 subcommittees.
So we'll be looking to form in the next couple
you'll let us know then. Thanks. What's the timeline? When are we at contract? What's the date?
They both expired June 30th.
All right, so
However, I have been put on notice by the PBA. They wish to start to sit down and start the process, which is fine. We try to get an early start before it expires. You know, if the council wishes, or the mayor, with the council, you want to establish a committee, whether it's specific to insurance or specific to negotiation in general. You know, we do have two units, PBA and DPW, so perhaps two committees or a single committee, whichever you feel is appropriate.
If they want to move on it, we should move on it, because Steve Wilcox is telling us that, you know, the conditions are very favorable for this time around for the taxpayers versus the unions.
Okay, next up, we have items for consideration for the March 18th. We have the minutes from January 27th, 2014 regular session. We have the adoption of ordinance 1504, 2014, ordinance amending and supplementing chapter 282, parking lots, and chapter 293, park and recreation areas. Update parking restrictions in municipal recreation areas and historic thoroughfares. We've listed the resolutions. They're pretty much housekeeping resolutions. If there are any questions, make sure you contact Greg over the next couple of weeks. And as far as matters for discussion, we have, I will be making some shade tree appointments, full reappointments, and I will be declaring a proclamation for Arbor Day, April 25th, 2014. I'd also like to mention, I received a letter from Patty Dalton. I have it here, so I should be writing on. Spring into action. It's going to be a 12-week wellness program. It's going to start March 24th, and it's going to conclude June 8th. It's pretty much what she had mentioned when she came in for her budget hearing. It's pretty much what the gym's offering, but you know, she's offering one through town, a weigh-in, blood pressure, you know, an initial blood pressure reading and monitoring throughout the 12 weeks.
I think you and Lou should definitely jump on that.
I
I'm
appreciate
fighting
that.
words, Mayor. I'm fighting words.
And then one other thing to mention, I received a letter from the chief. I don't see the gentleman here tonight, and I hope he potentially shows up at the next meeting. The gentleman who had concerns in regards to the handicap parking. It wasn't an Edgewater police officer's wife blocking the lot. The lady did not utilize the lot, she was actually blocking the lot. And he had a discussion with Chief Skidmore, and Chief Skidmore explained everything to him, and there's no action for the borough to take, so hopefully, I hope he's satisfied, and I hope to see him to explain it myself. Anything else, Greg?
Edgewater Colony Mayor, the pre-application is almost complete. The remaining piece, we just had Neglia Engineering complete a meets and bounds survey of the two municipal lots along River Road that will be incorporated in with the conservation easement area. Neglia will be having a meeting with Bergen County officials, I believe it's next week, in regards to potential road work in the area. So the concern right now, which I voiced to Pat Seguin, is we didn't want to give away all of our land in consideration of some potential road work that the county may have in mind. So we'll be meeting with them to figure out exactly what those meets and bounds should be. But we do have a full meets and bounds survey of those two parcels.
Greg, just,
Yeah.
if I could just throw in there, you know, I would say unless we get that in writing, in very clear terms from the county, what that's gonna mean 10, 20 years down the road, we shouldn't even entertain it until that's done. as far as signing off for the colony, although we don't do that, do we? The DEP does that.
Well, again, when we came up with that idea of utilizing that particular section of colony land, based on the need for acreage, we had to incorporate those two municipal parcels. They're not buildable in any means, they're not usable in any means, other than the potential for county road.
Which will happen one day.
Which I'm sure and hopeful that.
Then we'd have to replace the land.
So, you know, that meeting with the county will tell us more.
Okay.
And then that's on that issue. In your package tonight, you have the cost estimator's estimate and a volunteer first aid squad approved floor plan from 3 or 4 years ago in regard to the ground floor of Borough Hall. So I was asked to resurrect that in consideration of providing the first aid squad with a new home, so to speak. Right now, engineer's estimate is $1,058,000. However, I wanted to go over this with the architect. If you see on here, you have exterior windows and doors. The windows were just installed, new doors installed. So some of these items may have been included in the first phase that we just completed. So essentially right now, the council needs to consider in preparation of its budget is whether or not you wish to fund this work over at the old historic Borough Hall.
Are there any more grants that we can go after from the historical committee or the historical society in Hackensack?
They're mostly exterior driven, aren't they?
Yeah, the historical grants are targeted for preservation. Since this is interior and the idea is to modernize the interior to 2014 standards, there's not gonna be much
Can we
out.
run it by Millennium anyway, to see if maybe perhaps if they can
Yeah.
find somebody out there somewhere?
I think we need to go through this really with a fine tooth comb anyway, see really what's in there still, to kind of get that number down.
Down, I think it can be a lot less than that number. My personal feeling, I could be wrong, but you got maybe some plumbing, new plumbing obviously, and air conditioning. That could be the most expensive part of it.
Tommy feels that that's gonna be tied into the other two. We have to do, there's certain things we have to do for all 3 floors, whether we do the top 2 floors or not, in order to do the bottom floor, right? We also have to memorialize the $75,000 for my part, that's gonna go toward that. And we're saving town the flood insurance, so it just gets getting cheaper by the minute.
I mean, if you see, the two biggest items are your mechanicals, your HVAC, electric, plumbing, I think they put on the low side, but with that said, the interior millwork was about $245,000. But the mechanicals, and Tom can tell you, you know, probably the best bet with the ground floor is just to rip out the existing plumbing and wiring and rewire, replumb the whole building.
And he's coming from Sandy perhaps? You think he can-
It's unsandy, it's not sandy related.
Okay, I mean, they probably built the old building.
And because it's a historical site, we have to go with certain contractors, which are generally more expensive.
Not necessarily, because again, you're doing the work inside. As long as you're not affecting the exterior facade, which we're not, you're fine.
This is, what's the number, I'm sorry, what's the number for demolition? Do they have it?
Demolition on here was 42,000.
Yeah, something like that, we can.
I mean, demolition can probably be handled by Public Works. Again, exterior envelope, not so sure what they mean. Windows and doors, again, they were just brand new. But, you know, your fire protection, your plumbing, your HVAC, electric, and I shared with you a couple of years ago, are gonna be your big ticket items.
So we talked to Steve Wilcox the other night, and we have the capability of doing it. We have to do it. you know, we gotta
gotta get
consider this a
involved.
priority for 2000 this year. We had to do it.
Last couple of years,
They've requested 2 separate facilities to pay the volunteer. That's not gonna happen, we will agree to that. They're gonna have to share it and like it. I mean, did everybody kind of agree?
Yeah.
No, I mean, just in terms of doing it this year.
it has to be the year.
We got a lot of stuff out there, but.
Okay, so what we'll do is, once we finalize the budget, we'll work on an ordinance for this and hopefully introduce it. And what we may want to consider doing, again, this architect does have the specifications for that floor plan. Again, that was work that we had anticipated doing along with the first phase, so, and then backed it out because of the cost, so. But you will need an architect for that job.
Right. And we're talking about using the 2 bays across the street for the 2 ambulances, one in the building, and then Tommy moves the stuff
Right,
around.
the floor plan calls for 1 ambulance, and we actually, the best way to see if the ambulance would fit is, we had the architect, Kathy Freyo, Linda Merce, and we took the ambulance and actually drove it in the garage to be sure that it fits in that space. Okay, what else we got? All right, Veterans Field. Just wanted to clarify, based on the Finance Committee's request to investigate on the potential of initiating this work, in consideration of negotiating with the bonding company once that gets going. The resolution, which was endorsed by this council at the last public meeting, the resolution was specific in its wording in that it called for Waterside, or essentially stated that Waterside was in breach of their agreement. It wasn't necessarily written as a termination resolution. So I just wanted to clarify that the resolution simply stated that Waterside Construction was in breach of their agreement, and I wanted to clarify that. And there are some legalities as far as why that resolution was written in the manner in which it was written. So it was to preserve our standing when we meet with the bonding company. As that process moves forward, we also discussed the possibility of perhaps hiring special counsel to work with the bonding company and getting this job back on track. Again, the special counsel would work specifically for this particular project, along with working with the bonding company.
And any other avenues we have to pursue?
And any other avenues that need to be pursued as far as Veterans Field and Waterside Construction. We discussed the possibility of doing an RFQ. Again, we can save on time and just simply do a non-fair and open process, and simply acquire some proposals from various attorneys who specialize in the field of environment and contract and public contracts. That's the key. We need someone who's both familiar with environmental law and state contracts.
And why environmental law so much more than bond?
Well, I think that's gonna be the genesis of the negotiation with the bond company. So, again, you probably want someone that's well-rounded in both areas.
Okay. And the bonds being held by Liberty Mutual out of Boston?
That's correct.
Right, so we want to maybe find a company that deals with them, right? Maybe even to come out of Washington DC, we gotta get really somebody very, very good. I don't know how we do that, but it's certainly not like asking, some of our old sources. Other local firms, law firms and stuff. I think we really need to, well, maybe you can, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, if we initiate the non-fair and open process, which essentially is acquiring proposals from different vendors, and then distribute the information to the council and collectively making a decision, we can initiate that process as early as tomorrow. So I just need direction from you.
I believe that's what we should be doing, right?
We take a straw poll, you know?
You want to take a straw poll?
I mean, if everyone's in agreement, I don't necessarily have to call a roll. We can initiate that. The consensus is to seek special counsel for Veterans Field.
Every day counts.
Consensus, Veterans Field, special counsel proposals. And just,
And this is something Phil recommended, by the way, right from the beginning.
exactly, as an
I mean,
aside, the
absolutely.
mayor had a conversation with Phil within the past week, so that was something I believe was already discussed with the borough attorney and is in support.
Next up, I see the Borough Clerk. Do you have anything else?
I just want to make sure I don't have anything here.
Binghamton's moving along.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, that was one of my other items here. Yes, the contract, I guess for the lack of a better word, the contract purchaser of the location, I guess he would need to have an agreement with the Rose family. They've reached out to me. It looks favorable that apparently, you know, they have an agreement and they've asked the mayor and council for a support letter to be written to the DEP for the removal of the existing Binghamton.
What do you think the purpose of that could be? Is there any possible liability there that, you know, because you don't know what they're gonna find when they start tearing things apart, and
I mean,
Oh, yes, no, permission to go ahead and do it.
we reached out as a public entity right after Sandy and said, you know, you're removing debris, remove this debris. So they're quite well aware. They put on notice that this thing is sinking and needs to be taken out, and that's when we were trying to get the DEP to do it for us. So I think it's probably just a formality to a support letter so they can get their permits issued, because they're gonna need a waterfront development permit for the demolition.
Have we
So-
seen an application or any word on transfer of a liquor license from Vesta over to Binghamton?
I haven't seen anything. I don't think Barbara has either. She
Yeah.
probably would have mentioned
It's
it.
probably a little premature.
So we'll be drafting that letter on borough letterhead, and we typically have the mayor's signature on it, and we'll have him sign it. Essentially just says that the borough is in support of removing this eyesore. And then just Barbara was gonna report on it. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here. We met with a vendor, an online meeting management system, which essentially, it does all of her resolutions, her ordinances, her agendas, integrates with the website and online access, so the public can view documents along with the mayor and council, but the ideal thing with this was that all the boards, so your planning, your zoning, and all the other ancillary boards can incorporate this for the same price. So it's not as if you buy one system for the mayor and council, and then for every other board, it's another $1,000 or so. So essentially, you can add on as many boards as you want, and I think it would benefit the town. So, you know, the public will have access to not only the agendas, but the resolutions as well, and all of the backup material that go with it. And then as far as plans for planning and zoning, those can all be shrunken to PDF files and made available as well. So from a clumsy packet to some of the council who sent on the planning and zoning, essentially those clumsy packets get eliminated as well, so. And it was pretty reasonable. Barbara was gonna bring all the backup in the proposal tonight, but I told her I'd mention it to you, so we'd like to include that in the budget, and it was pretty reasonable, I thought.
Question for you, Greg. Greg and Lou, that the Citizens Council, we want to call it, this subcommittee for the website, that's happening soon, this week?
I'd like to see it put together officially, you know, that's giving a green light on that.
Well, I think Jimmy could just appoint it, just
Yeah.
make it, you know, just to review it one more time, make sure we got the right thing and people, and let's get going.
And then perhaps, you know, something that, this might be something that could be built into it, or they work together with that company to make that happen, so that's not a bad idea, maybe it's perfect timing.
Maybe we can hear something back by the next meeting on that, I think we need to get
Okay.
going.
I believe that's all I have now.
Okay. That's all I have. Nothing to report. I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call.
Introduce Henwood, second by Vidal. Councilman Henwood?
Yes.
Councilman Doran?
Yes.
Councilman Mozzie?
Yes.
Councilman Vidal?
Yes.
Councilman Bartholomew?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.